The future, a world where the quest for truth has ended.
Do you believe in the supernatural, Mr. Vandarius?
I'm not enough surprise. The Shader will bring hell to Earth for thousands of years. Shock Division, kill them all!
Spirit Blade, a full cast audio drama. Download the Legacy Edition of Spirit Blade for free at spiritblade.com.
Hey guys, Peter Franson here from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions, continuing my reactions to all the goodness going on in what I'm calling UN-E3 2020. Today, the event that was easily most anticipated by fans was the PlayStation 5 Future of Gaming show, which was streamed in all kinds of places. I watched it on the PlayStation YouTube channel. There was a lot of stuff in the, I want to say, hour and 15 minutes that the show ran. I'm only going to go over like some highlights of particular interest to me, things that stood out to me for one reason or another. The first thing that jumped out was the trailer for Miles Morales, Spider-Man Miles Morales, coming in holiday 2020. It did have the PlayStation 5 logo. Spider-Man is a PlayStation 4 game, Marvel's Spider-Man. So this says to me that either this one is going to be playable on the Spider-Man for PS4 will be playable on PlayStation 5, or maybe this is a standalone expansion type of thing. I would be a bit surprised if already they had basically a new Spider-Man game that was all about Miles Morales. Maybe that is what they're getting at, but that's coming out a holiday 2020. I'm thinking it's got to be something on a smaller scale than that, though. They used a couple of taglines in promoting the game. One was "Be Greater," and then that went away from the screen, and then the next thing that showed up was "Be Yourself." And those things each have, their own value. We want to be ourselves in terms of, being authentic and being transparent as much as we can be. But if by be yourself you mean just be who you are, don't try to be anything else, that doesn't quite work with be greater. I feel like these are like two examples of pop culture slogans, pop philosophy slogans that get thrown around that aren't really examined. I don't think those two in particular go really well together. I would rather be greater and be better than I currently am instead of just being myself. But anyway, just thought that was interesting. The next one that jumped out to me was called Returnal. This is an unusual sci-fi game involving a woman, an astronaut, who keeps crashing on the same planet and dying and kind of experiencing this loop over and over again, but the world changes as she is, having this experience again and again, dying again and again. That kind of gameplay doesn't sound very appealing to me, but what I found interesting was that the studio producing it or creating it is Housemarque, and these are the guys known for games like Resogun, these very arcadey type shooters, and now the fact that they're making what much more looks like a big AAA type of game makes me curious as to what the gameplay is going to be like when they're so known for their arcadey style shooters of different varieties. So I will definitely be keeping Returnal on my radar. Next up, what jumped out to me was a game called, Kena Bridge of Spirits. Let's see, what do my notes say here? Oh, yeah. This one doesn't look like the gameplay is going to be my thing, but I just happened to notice that the developers said that it explores themes of personal growth and redemption, and it looks like it's pulling from Eastern religion or Eastern mythology in some way as it does that, but that just caught my eye. It'll be interesting to see what this game implicitly has to say about personal growth, how personal growth works, or as believers in Christ, we would call that sanctification, the process of being set apart more and more for the purposes that God has for us and for the world. And redemption, of course, is a major word in the Christian faith, but it's handled and brought about very, very differently in all other worldviews. So it'll be interesting to see what their take is, what they're saying in that story about personal growth and redemption in particular. The next game that jumped out to me was Ghostwire Tokyo. For the first time, I think, unless I missed it last time, they kind of promoted this game at E3 last year. I was getting more of a sense of the gameplay. It looks like it's going to be a supernatural horror action game, maybe, of some kind. It certainly looks like it's drawing from Asian horror films for its inspiration of like you're fighting ghosts and weird creatures of the night, and supernatural beings. But it's in a first-person mode, and you're using these kind of like energy blasting powers. It'll look like a first-person, spellcaster or something like that. I don't know what it is exactly that you're doing. And as was the case with a lot of games in this showcase, I still didn't get a sense of what type of game it is. Is this an RPG of any kind? Am I going to be able to? Because that's really important to me, because I'm terrible at games. And so I like to have those RPG mechanics that I can lean on to grind so that I can make my way through the story. Until I know kind of what the mechanics of a game are, then I really only get, less than half-heartedly invested in the story and the world, because sure, if it's a cool looking world, I want to see the world, I want to see the story, but the gameplay, unless it has some grindy elements that will allow me to compensate for my bad skills, the gameplay is going to prohibit me from enjoying the exploration of the really cool looking world that a developer might create. So I really felt like in this entire showcase, I wanted to, I would have preferred, I think, fewer games and a deeper dive on the games that we saw, so I could know, okay, what is this? Is this an experience for me? But I understand them at this point, from a marketing standpoint, wanting to just kind of tease us with as many different things as possible that they are associating with their new platform to try and hit as many different gamers and gamers' interests as possible. Let's see here. The next game was Godfall. The next game that got my attention anyway. There was a game called Jet the Far Shore coming holiday 2020. They didn't show near enough again for me to know, is this going to be for me or not? But Godfall we had teased at least 6 months ago. Was that at the Game Awards of 2019 or was that E3? I can't remember. I think it was Game Awards 2019. And this is being described by the developers as a looter slasher. And that term, is kind of born of the looter shooter term that has been used to describe Borderlands and games that kind of mimic that a little bit, like a first-person shooter, but it's also very loot-based, and so this is being called a looter slasher. I don't know how much it's going to have in common with Diablo. It's looking like a third-person, kind of like stylish action game in a fantasy setting that looks kind of cool. But again, I'm the kind of person that, I get they want to show their graphics and stuff. I want to see the HUD elements so I can get a better sense of what this game is. For a game that's marketed so far as a looter slasher, I haven't gotten any sense of looting. They did put some keywords up about, mastering certain weapons, but not about acquiring certain weapons. And so the language they're using to promote it in this little teaser didn't do anything to bring out the looter slasher element. Just a lot of cool looking slasher stuff. Let's see. I'm sure of note to many gamers will be Demon Souls, the remake or remaster. I think we can probably call it a remake. I mean, it looked like far more than just kind of an up-res of graphics. It looked like, really nice. Not a reinvention, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm not familiar enough with Demon Souls to be able to say. But, man, again, when I see trailers for these Souls-like games, there's this trend now where dark aesthetics are always being attached to punishing gameplay. And I like dark aesthetics, but I hate punishing gameplay. And so when I see the aesthetics of Demon Souls and other games like it, I'm like, oh man, that world looks really cool. I'd like to explore that world and do things in that world, but I just don't want to be beat down in that world, So anyway, I don't know. Recently I've been thinking, should I give the Souls-like games another thought? Should I give them some consideration? We'll see. I highly suspect that there's just going to be too many other games that I will much more easily enjoy. I think also pleasing to fans of the Resident Evil series is Village, which was then revealed to actually be Resident Evil 8. That's coming in 2021. I'm not a fan of that series, so I don't really have anything to say about it, but I'm sure that's going to be of note to a lot of gamers. One game near the end that caught my eye was called Pragmata. I don't know how they're going to pronounce it out loud. That's coming in 2022. I was getting Death Stranding vibes from this one. I didn't check to see. Gosh, I should have. If it has anything in common with that studio, probably not. But I was just getting those kind. In fact, you know what it did? It made me want to like go back and maybe consider giving Death Stranding another try. And it might as well because it's not coming out till 2022 anyway. The final game that really got my attention, and I think probably the game that's going to connect with the largest number of PlayStation gamers that watched this, was Horizon Forbidden West. We, had every reason to suspect that we were going to be seeing this pretty soon, and so I wasn't surprised to see it. I was also not surprised, but I will say a little disappointed that Aloy is the returning protagonist. I'm not going to spoil anything about the end of the first game, but I really wanted Silence to be the protagonist. The way they left that character, I was like, ooh, that would be a daring, edgy choice, and it would be just interesting to play as Silence, And Aloy rubbed me the wrong way. I thought she had a chip on her shoulder, kind of in some ways, in particular, a very anti-theist chip on her shoulder. But maybe they'll be exploring different themes enough. I feel like the things they wanted to explore about theism, if they retread the same ground of theism is primitive, science will save us, that kind of thing. If they're going to retread that ground, I'd be a little bit surprised. Thematically, in this trailer, it doesn't look like that's kind of what it's going to be about, but who knows? It'll be interesting. So hopefully she'll have less of a chip on her shoulder. She's figured out her sense of origins and where she came from, and at the end of the first game, she has maybe a sense of self, and maybe she'll just feel a little less like an outcast or whatever, and we can kind of move on and just see a totally different side. For me, a more likable side of Aloy's personality. I know a lot of people loved Aloy, and those personality traits of hers didn't jump out as much to them, or maybe at all to them, as they did for me. But I am hoping that with this new theme, it looks like this game is going to be playing with, that we'll also get kind of a new Aloy. But that remains to be seen. I was at least glad to see Silence in the trailer. I've come to enjoy that actor more and more, because since playing the original Horizon Zero Dawn, I've become a fan of Bosch on Amazon Prime, and I've also seen him in some old what's that show called? You know the show, the sci-fi one that's like Strange. No, it's not Strange anything. Fringe. That's what it's called. I stopped watching that show, but I've been liking Bosch, and he's in it, and I like him in it. So all the more reason to look forward to seeing him again in this one. And then finally, they closed up giving us a look at the PlayStation 5, the actual box itself, along with the controller, of course, and a little bit of a reveal was that alongside the disc version, there will be a discless version that's called the PlayStation 5 Digital Edition, which makes me wonder which one I'll end up purchasing. Actually, no, it doesn't. I'm going to get the disc version. I might consider getting the discless version of whatever Xbox does, but I think it makes sense that they would come out with two different models, and so it's no price yet. I imagine that there'll be more that we're going to see about the box, maybe even before the summer is done, hopefully. But that's all that jumped out to me for this show. There wasn't a ton that was really for me. I thought there was a lot of kind of indie-looking stuff, or kind of in the A space, not the indie space, not the double A space, but if there is such a thing, the A space, where independent studios are able to make some pretty good-looking games, but still, not necessarily grabbing me. I'd be curious to hear what grabbed you in this presentation. So if you want to leave your comments or get in touch with me however way you see fit, I would be interested to hear from you. That's all I've got for now. Stay tuned. I'm going to be covering more of UN-E3, including, what was it called? The Escapist indie game showcase, which I watched earlier today. I'm going to, as soon as I get this video up, start working on that one. That one had a lot of stuff that really did catch my attention, and I suspect will be for me. So I'll be sharing my thoughts on that and more as more of this stuff explodes in the coming days. I'm going to be working hard to give you my reactions as soon as I can. So I hope you'll stay tuned for that. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
The future, a world where the quest for truth has ended.
Do you believe in the supernatural, Mr. Vendarius?
Surprise! The Shader will bring hell to Earth for thousands of years. Shock Division, kill them all!
Spirit Blade, a full cast audio drama. Download the Legacy Edition of Spirit Blade for free at spiritblade.com.